Welcome back to the podcast. On this episode, I'm joined by Steve Cobucci, guitarist and vocalist for the band Wolves at the Gate, who are set to drop a brand new album, Wasteland, on May 30th through Solid State Records. I had a really great time talking with Steve about the band, Faith, and a really deep dive into the album and everything that went into it. It was co-produced by Josh Gilbert of Spirit Box, and I think a lot of people are going to really love this. But before we get into all of that, I got to tell you about SeatGeek, who are giving first-time users $20 off their order with promo code Denning at checkout. Again, $20 off your first-time order using promo code Denning at checkout. Also, the fine folks at Emo Is Not Dead are giving everybody 20% off their order using promo code Denning20 at checkout. Again, Denning20 at checkout to get 20% off your entire order at emosnotdead.com. Shout out to them. And with that said, this is my chat with Steve Cobucci of Wolves at the Gate. Enjoy. And we are rolling. Perfect, man. Yeah, so it's 8 p.m. over in Jersey for you.
Sure is.
That is crazy, man. I appreciate it because you're recording with me late at night and you have a million things going on right now. You are married. You have, 3 kids?
I have 3 kids, yeah.
And you work as a carpenter during the day?
Yeah, I do. I wear many hats, let's put it that way. Yeah, it's a lot of different things that I do, but they're all things that I love and I'm passionate about. So
yeah, how long have you been doing that for?
Since I was a teenager. Yeah, I've been doing that since I was a teenager. My dad owned a remodeling company, and so it's just kind of it's transitioned much more over the past 5 to 6 years, where I just do like design. So like I design a lot of like whole house remodels or a lot of kitchens and large bathrooms and stuff like that. And I just work in CAD software and make, pretty renderings for people to see. So it's cool for me to use the more artistic side that I think really appreciate about the trades. So
basically AI is not going to replace you anytime soon.
I sure hope not. Everyone keeps saying AI can design a room. It's like, yeah, it can make a song. Have you heard their songs?
I mean, I like, certain elements of AI. Like, have you heard like the generic country knockoff song where it's like boots and truck and crack a beer?
Yeah, I think AI can give you some cool and fun things. Compelling though, I don't know if that's necessarily the word that I would use for what AI can create. But yeah, it's definitely possible. But like anything else, I think hopefully people will just be able to use it as a tool and not a crutch.
Yeah, there's some unsettling uses of it. Like I just saw there was like a court case that was going on, and they recreated this guy to like give a impact statement, and I'm like, I don't like that.
Yeah. I heard about that, and I was like, nope, that's wrong.
Yeah, and then the judge was like, I moved, and now because I've heard this, I'm giving another year of sentencing from like, oh, okay, that sucks, but
yeah, yeah, well, because
yeah.
it is a bit of a mockery of what it means to have an actual eyewitness,
Yeah.
So, and especially something serious like a court case, but thankfully we're only talking about AI in regards to the arts, and we're not talking about law.
In 2025, I mean, go figure.
Yeah.
Sky Knight is coming for us all eventually.
Dude, it feels like it.
I mean, at least maybe approach that on the next album.
Yeah, dude, John Connors. I've just been thinking about it.
I guess, how do you personally manage all these different things that you're juggling? I mean, you have to be a good husband, a good father, good at your job during the day. It's like, how do you do everything and make it work?
Yeah, well, I mean, first and foremost, what's helpful for me is to understand, I guess, sort of like the hierarchy or the triage of importance. My wife comes first, and I mean, I made, she's the only person I've ever made those like commitments to, to serve her above myself and to love her more than myself and to put her, ahead of myself. And so I don't say that to say that I do that perfectly, by no means, but that's what I try to keep first. And then, yeah, my kids, and caring for my kids. Um, and then really the rest of it just comes down to, I've really had to become very disciplined with my time.
Mhm.
And also, yeah, like I think the hard thing as an artist, time, you never feel like you have enough time. And when you're trying to create and you have like time constraints, it can be really challenging. But I've learned to just sort of push myself to like not get upset if I don't like create the amount or
Mhm.
the amount of what I was trying to go for. If I carve out like a 2-3 hour session, late at night after everybody goes to sleep, but just to understand it's all part of the process. And so, um, I think I've learned a lot of doing that, especially over the past 8 years, because my
Mhm.
first two kids were twins. And so I had to be helping my wife, as
Yeah,
soon,
I can't even imagine that.
yeah, all day. And so the only way I could get stuff done was at night when everyone was sleeping. And it was a little difficult for me at first to figure out how to be creative when I was exhausted. Um, and I was just kind of beating myself up, to be honest, and it wasn't good. And so I had to
Mhm.
just start, you know, just understanding the situation I was in and just see everything as it's working towards something. Even if I just wrote a real stinker of a song, it's
Mhm.
like it's like you have to write bad songs to write good songs. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with your first 2 being twins, I mean, like, what were your first thoughts? Like, "Oh, I was expecting 1, but now it's gonna be twice as hard."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so my wife, she is a triplet.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and her mom's sister, her cousins were also triplets. So there was something in the water on her side of the family. So when we found out she was pregnant, we were kind of wondering, not boy girl, but how many children are in there. So it was difficult because at first, honestly, my initial reaction was, I guess that's it for my music career.
Yeah.
Because I just couldn't conceptualize a way of like leaving her.
Yeah, of course.
Um, and we just kind of had to pivot, and she was really helpful. I mean, my wife's been so helpful for me with so many things, even just with music, let alone everything else in my life. And so she was really helpful to basically say, like, why do you think you have to quit? And I was like,
Mhm.
well, I need to help you. She's like, yeah, help me, but don't quit. And I was like, oh, I didn't, I didn't think of that. So it's like, we're just going to have to find a way to do this that's sustainable. And so that's, we've done things and realized that it wasn't good, and we've tried to maybe be more cautious in other areas and realize you can go do those tours or you could go do
Mhm.
that, or so we just try to keep an open hand about it and not like have strict rules about what can and can't happen and just play everything by ear. So
I know you guys are pretty selective with, like, what you guys do touring wise because I think if I have it right, the other guys just had kids recently.
yeah, there was a time when I had my kids and guys were like, when are we going to hit the road? I was like, well, I mean, I can't go anywhere. And I've been touring with 3 kids, and now they're all having their kids and they're like, oh, I can't, I'm like, all right, now you know what
Mhm.
it's like. So, but it's good. I'm happy for them. And it is hard because still so passionate about music and especially playing shows too. It's such a unique thing that we really I think we've really come to appreciate it more and more
Yeah.
the older we get. So
Yeah, so not taking anything for granted, you
yeah.
have those moments on stage where you just get to go and then just release it and then, you know
Yeah. For me, like it really hit me. We did a tour with Memphis May Fire a couple
Mhm.
years back, and we played Philadelphia, which is like 45 minutes from my house, and my kids got to come. And you know, it's hard for me to not choke up now thinking about it, but it was hard for me to play that show because they've been listening to my music for years and had never been able to come to a show, and they came and they just like they were side stage right next to me while I was playing. I couldn't help it. I just kept looking back at them and just smiling, because they were just loving, the experience. And so that has like made me just like cherish it that much more too. Just thinking about them and the fact that they get to have cool experiences, and also just make sure that like I'm I'm enjoying my time because they would want me to, but also I'm making the most of it as well, you know?
Yeah. And, I'm curious, like, how do, your kids describe your band? Like, is it like, "Oh, dad plays in a, heavy metal band or like a rock band," or, you
The
know
best thing is we do not talk about genres at my house.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just music, and so and I eventually, I'll have that conversation with them, but like, I didn't want them to be like indoctrinated. I just wanted to like whatever they like, I'm not going to tell them what it is. Just listen to it. And if you like it, you like it. And their musical tastes are so broad. They love heavy stuff, heavier stuff than us, but they also like, you know, music that's like way different too. So like, cause on that tour, Rain City Drive played after us.
Yeah.
And I remember my son, Johnny, after we packed up, he was watching them and he was really enjoying it. And I just thought he was just watching it because he was waiting for me. And so I grabbed him. We went out. And as soon as we left the room, he's like, "Can we go back in?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, yeah, dude. Like, let's go." So, yeah, it's just so cool for them to get to have these experiences, especially how much I loved music. And my parents were so disconnected from this style of music for my kids to kind of have this outlet and to just sort of absorb it and like what they like, and if they like the kind of they love my music, thankfully. Maybe they're biased, but they do love it, and that they just also like heavy music, which is pretty cool. Especially my youngest, he loves guys that scream, or anybody that
Yeah.
screams for that matter. He thinks that's very cool.
Has there been, like, someone, like, that he's met recently where it's like, "Whoa," like
Well, he's 4, so, like, his conception of, like, who is, like, famous or not famous is, like, pretty, like, he has no idea, but, we played a show with Impending Doom, and Brooke is,
Yeah.
just a great vocalist, and Philip, my son, he's my youngest, he's 4 years old, he was just watching Brooke, and after the set was over, he was just going, he's just, like, trying to make the sounds himself, and I'm like, "That's so cool."
But for someone, like, who knows what Brooke is like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like that I could see that interaction happening and it
Yeah.
being a really, like, wholesome and
Yeah.
just genuine thing.
Yeah, it was cool.
We
So
know anything, it's, impending doom is for the kids.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like, yeah, it's, impending doom, Demon Hunter, Phineas,
Mhm,
what else? I mean, your band, obviously,
mhm,
War of Ages. I think you guys kind of like there's a subset of bands that are very, like, unapologetically evangelical, for lack of a better term.
mhm.
It's just kind of
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, I think those are probably the bands that are still around, to that effect. Yeah, it's a much smaller group of bands than what it used to be, but yeah, quality's always more important than quantity in my opinion, so
Yeah, what do you think that is? Like, I wouldn't say it's a trend, but
I mean, I think at the time it was a trend, and I think a lot of people, um, I mean, you got to think about who was the biggest band that everyone was impacted by during that era was Under Oath. I mean, and they were just the biggest band. It wasn't like, you know, faith specific. They were just one of the biggest bands in heavy music, and so I think a lot of people saw that and were influenced by it, and they thought that maybe that had something to do with the way the music sounded. And I think people over the years that were invested in that, I guess, subset of music when they started to really think about like, do I want to be attached to Christianity, might have realized that it's not actually something that they believed. And I think that's why it kind of died off. And um, Also, I feel like there were a lot of really poor representations of what Christianity is that put a lot of bad taste in people's mouths. And I know that we've suffered that having that association, over the years. But you know, while I probably don't, I would yeah definitely agree with a lot of people as to the things that they were offended by. I'm definitely not ashamed to be associated with Christ, but I can understand why a lot of people didn't like a lot of things they saw in like Christian heavy bands.
Yeah.
So
And I appreciate like how intentional and nuanced you are when it comes to your approach with music. I mean, I've seen, lyric sheets where it is heavily detailed. We're talking
mhm,
like Garrett Russell level
mhm,
detail of,
mhm,
just like crossing out this and just
mhm,
underlining this and just
mhm.
arrow here. Could you go more into like kind of what your lyric writing process looks like these days or like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it's definitely evolved over the years, because one thing I realized early on was, you know, being somebody, who is a Christian and I want to use my music to help people maybe understand something that has been misunderstood. I realized early days I was kind of preaching to the choir,
Mhm.
and it's not something I was too interested in doing. Not because I don't think it's good. It's just personally that wasn't what I felt. That I like really desired to do or felt called to do,
Mhm.
if I can even say that. And so the way that I approach lyrics is I just really just my goal is to so to speak like reach across the aisle to maybe people that have not had a great understanding or a great experience with Christians or Christianity, and to maybe help them understand. To me, like, I understand the things that people have been offended by or hurt by in the church or in the American church for that matter. And really, I probably agree with 95% of it.
Mhm.
And what I would love to do is to help people maybe peel back the layers of the ways they've been hurt and take a look at the real source material and not like the people. Don't look at the televangelist who's asking for money, or the pastor who's abused power, but to look at like the man of who like Jesus is and who he was and what was he about, what did he do, what did he say, and what is the gospel actually about. And really for us to kind of get out of the way of that. That's really kind of what we're trying to do. And so well, I just try to approach lyrics in a way, you know, very similarly to I guess the way that C.S. Lewis approached like his fiction writing, which is trying to use like allegory and metaphor and try to use different try to use things that people understand to maybe help them understand something they don't understand.
Yeah.
you know so that's really kind of my approach, and I take a lot of that from I'm heavily inspired by Dustin Kensrue from Thrice and the way that
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
writes lyrics. He's very thoughtful and really knows how to paint a picture using like a simple object, really, a lot
Mhm.
of the time. And I just got a lot of respect for his artistry in that.
I love that. Yeah, I was actually gonna ask you later on, like, if you had time to sit down with Dustin and kind of just talk music or
Mhm.
songwriting, kinda like, how would you like that to go?
Yeah, that's a really tough question because there's probably so many questions I want to ask. But yeah, I would just ask him, yeah, what's your like philosophy and what makes you want to write lyrics? Um, what we could be instrumental bands, or he could write about anything, but what makes you want to write about the things you write about? What sort of
Mhm.
motivates that? And yeah, where he draws inspiration from, because he's been doing it for a long time, and there's
Mhm.
no way that it's the same things as it was day one. Because I know it's not for me,
No.
um, and so, and I'm always trying to find different places to find inspiration from, where you know, I find I've been finding inspiration from movies. I've been finding inspiration from like just literal artwork, which is such a cool thing, to be able to be inspired to write lyrics based off of something that is so far from lyric writing.
Definitely. I mean, you've been at it for such a long time too, where this is album number 6,
Mhm.
and you've been with Solid State for, I wanna say the entire time?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, is
Since
this like
2011, 2012.
yeah. Is this the last album on your deal, or is there more to come on that, or
No, this is actually the first of any like we extended our
let's
our
go.
uh, our deal. Yeah, so this
And they
is
they 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 had an option, they picked it up and
yeah, I mean, so this is the first one, yeah, and there's options, and we are there's gonna be a lot of music coming. I can tell you that.
Okay, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, so with this long lasting relationship with Solid State, what about them makes it like the place to be?
Yeah, I mean, so one thing I can say, which is probably the most rare thing any artist can say, is I have had the same A&R since we signed.
No way.
Um, yeah, Adam Scatula. I mean, he is a, a wonderful guy. Truly a friend. You know, when I first met him, I knew I was like, I would just be friends with this person. Like nothing, not even music related. Just as a human being, I'd want to be friends with him. And and we were the first band that he signed. He was new, and during that time period, there was like A&R turnover everywhere, like
Mhm.
all the time, and we just saw eye to eye on so many things musically. Um, like purpose, was aligned, and as well, like they've just been willing to give us such creative freedom, and support in that. They've never told us what to do. They've never, they've just tried to find a way to let us be us and to grow and be better versions of us each and every time, which all I can be is grateful for that. And they've given us the opportunity to do that for so long. So
Yeah, and I mean, funny enough, speaking of Solid State, to speak of wolves, have you ever been confused for
yeah,
that? Okay, because I was like, I've always wanted to ask that question, like,
yeah. So
because
funny,
yeah,
funny story about that. We get they were they were booked for a festival, um, but I think the festival thought that they were booking us, and so they booked them and promoted us on the flyer, and people were upset that we didn't come. I was like, because they didn't book us, and we couldn't figure out why. And then that same thing ended up happening the other way around with a
no,
different festival. And but that was a long time ago. So
I can
we haven't
imagine
had
like
that problem since.
it's like you're feeding your son, and it's like, man, like leave me alone, dude. Like, why am I not in the middle of a field in Ohio? Like,
Yeah. That's hilarious. Yeah. I
yeah,
forgot about that until you mentioned it.
that's funny though. But yeah, I mean, 6 albums deep. Why do you think you've been able to last as long as you have? I mean, a lot of bands don't last, 4 albums even.
Yeah, I mean, the easy answer is to like attribute it to we make music that fans like or blah
Mhm,
blah blah. Like I I don't I actually think it's because as a band we thoroughly enjoy one another, and we're linked together by a passion for creating music and um the message behind what we want the music to sort of be a vehicle for. And truly, like we're just such good friends. I know something that is hard for a lot of bands over the years as they grow apart. um and in some senses we've grown apart a little bit just because we don't get to see each other as much as we'd like to, because we all live in different states. None of us live close to each other, so we only see each other when we do band stuff, which is probably common for most bands.
mhm.
But yeah, I mean, they're just like my brothers. We're like intricately involved in each other's lives and care about each other in that way. And something that was said to us on the last tour we did, and it was such a strange comment, and somebody said like, you Wolves boys, you're like always together. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And he's just like, you guys always hang out, like, you know that's weird. And I was like, do you mean it's weird for a band that's been around forever? And I think what he was saying is that a lot of bands, like, they kind of just they like need their space. And I understand that, but we
Yeah.
also just love being together. And I think we're fortunate to have that. And so um, I think that's part of the reason why we have lasted as long as we have.
Yeah, and I love that. So, like, no lineup changes and
Yeah, it's
yeah,
been
that's
it's been pretty solid for a long time. I mean, we went through a number of drummers early days.
mhm.
Um, but Abishai, who's been in the band for a long time now. I mean, he's so talented and the the most fun like human being. I mean, he just makes us laugh all the time. Whenever I do these podcasts, I'm just like, man, people should probably just talk to Abishai.
I mean, maybe
I need to
he'll
get
do
him
one
on
of
the
these.
circuit.
Yeah, we'll get him like a maybe a new podcaster or something. We'll just here you go at
Yeah,
it.
and he's played with so many bands too. I mean, he's just that guy like that. He's learned so many like so many different song like set lists from other bands, from touring, filling in. Dude's just got a ton of experience, and he's got great stories and yeah, great hair.
So either way, I mean, even so, he's just funny. So
Yeah, exactly,
so
exactly.
if not for a laugh. But yeah, I mean, this has to be a super exciting time given that the album drops at the very end of the month. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, this is going to be, kind of a conduit. It's like someone's going to find this album who's never heard of you before and like,
Mhm.
wow, this is my next favorite band.
Yeah, I've never thought about that before, and that is really cool, and that's exciting for me to think about because I know how
Mhm.
that feels for me. I mean, it still happens, I'm 38 years old, and that still happens for me where I'm just like,
Oh yeah.
"Whoa, like, where has this been?" Like, I just heard a song from a band called Johnny Booth, and
Yeah.
I'm like, "This is great." Like, I was just uh, you just it's so fun to be surprised, by music like that. So it is exciting to think about the fact that we may be able to do that for somebody else.
Yeah, and I feel like your band is very underrated and it's kind of just picking up steam in a new way. Like I feel like COVID happened as you guys were picking up steam with
Mhm.
your
Eclipse.
2019 release, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, shoot,
Yeah.
guess we don't get to tour on this now. And then
Yeah. Yeah, that kinda took the wind from our sails a little bit, yeah, because we got a bit of a second wind. We've always just been just, you know, w the tortoise and the hare were definitely the tortoise. We never
Mhm,
had a fast, glow up, or anything, but I realized a long time ago that that's not, if I'm trying to measure success in that way, I'm gonna be depressed and not wanna make music.
mhm,
And also it's more like self-serving, and I
mhm.
really am trying to serve people with music, honestly. Obviously, like, I enjoy it, and it's a lot of fun for me, and it's such an amazing privilege to have, but it is something we just wanna give people, 'cause music has given a lot to me, and also I've just received a lot of grace in my life, and so this is hopefully a way that we can, um, pass it along.
Totally, and there's a lot of, like, stories and lessons that you can kind of derive from the band, like, where, you have this, skilled craft of working with woods, like, you have that to kind of lay the foundation so you can do the band well,
Mhm.
and you're taking your time, you're 6 albums deep, and things are really just taking off, and, you have a pretty good following on Spotify, I mean, that's, gotta be a blessing.
Yeah, it is cool. It's a strange thing, but, the thing that we're most happy about, is regardless of, the monthly listener thing is such a strange thing, but
Mhm.
the followers, that we have, the people that follow us on Spotify is really a crazy thing to think about. And yeah, we're just grateful for it, and it's what's crazy is yeah, like we have lots of like young new listeners. There's a whole new generation of people that are, like you said, picking up our songs for the first time, which is exciting that we could still be a band this long and to make something that you know doesn't feel like it's from long ago. you know, we're not a time capsule of when we started the band.
No, and I get that. I mean, like, it's I guess for someone who is just now discovering your band through, with the new music videos and the album when it drops, like, how would they kind of go about discovering, your past material? Would they go through the last couple albums or start from the very beginning or just go through singles?
Yeah, I think it really depends on somebody's personality, and there's people that get invested in our music in different ways and different albums. There's lots of people that, Eclipse was their first album
Mhm.
and followed us there and then went back, you know. I do think if somebody's finding us today, depending on what they're liking, I think it's well worth going back and listening to other albums, just probably just picking some of the more popular songs off those albums, and you get a feel for where we were at that time and if that's something you connect with, you know. But I think an easy way to do it is just to hop on YouTube, because all of the music videos, and you can kind of see sort of the, different iterations of the band and where we were at musically. Because we really, we've had a lot of people telling us that, their favorite album was Types and Shadows, which was much more of a darker, indier, post-hardcore sound. And these newer songs are much more like in your face, like industrial, heavier, and it to them it feels like a different band almost. And so if you're just totally loving us for that reason, then there may not be more for you going back, but I don't know. I'd give it a shot. I always go back and listen to, if I find a band and they're like, "What, you have 5 albums?" I'm going to check them all out. Sometimes you're disappointed, sometimes you're not. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, like, you even did a covers album recently.
Mhm.
What
Yeah.
was that like?
I was that was just like a bucket list thing, it was so fun, and we all just had a blast doing it, and it was stress free, and like we just needed something to make us feel like kids again, like the way that you felt about music, and it was a bit of a reset button for us, creatively, and yeah, and also just not, like, overthinking, and I think it really freed us up for creating, this whole new world that we're working on with Wasteland.
Yeah, Wasteland is great. I mean, I appreciate the biggest thing where you are world building and you're focused on telling a story, and I feel like the album did a great job of doing that.
Oh,
I wanna hear
thanks.
more about your perspective and, like, how you kind of approach that.
Yeah, I mean, I've always loved telling stories and songs, and I think it's such a powerful, um yeah, such a powerful way to communicate a message, and, it was really as I after Eulogies, after we basically finished tracking, I just started writing for the next album, and I just started writing a lot of songs, and I started to notice something in the songs that I was creating. Just there felt like they were just like I was making songs that were just so like opposite of one another. Like there'd be like some songs would be so chill and melodic, and other songs would be like a lot of electronic elements and dark, um and I was just kind of like, what? I was kind of like going like, what's going on? Like, what is this stuff that's coming out of me? And the more that I started thinking about it, I was like, man, it kind of feels like there's a world being built in these songs. And I started thinking about like, I said to myself, I know you're afraid of writing like a true like concept album, but what
Mhm.
if you did? And um, it was at that point that it just like ideas just started like coming to me, getting pieces of the story. And then I just started mapping it out and started thinking about how songs would fit that. And it just sort of blossomed. And I had so much fun creating it. It felt like it just felt like such uncharted territory for me that I just loved exploring. And to be honest, I would be just as fulfilled making it if nobody ever heard it. I just
Yeah.
had so much fun making it.
Like, how many times did you go over, like, I wanna, like, revise this and tweak that," like, that sounds really dumb.
Yeah.
Let's change this," or
I went through a lot of that. I went through kind of by myself, just thinking about what the story should be.
Mhm,
And once I had a really good handle on what the story should be, I it made it a lot easier to start thinking about, like, how to divide the songs and looking at the songs almost like chapters,
mhm.
and what what place does each song have within the story, and how should that feel, how should that sound. um, and that was a lot of fun for me to explore, and for the guys to explore as well, and to really challenge them. And it also just made us again sort of ask the question of like, you know like who, there's always that question of like, can we do this? And just kind of going, if we like it, we can do it because
Yeah,
it's our band,
absolutely.
you know?
I mean,
And if, yeah.
can you think of like the some of your favorite contributions from the other guys in the band and how they really shaped the record?
Yeah, I mean, the most fun was, I remember the first time I told the guys in the group chat, I was like, I know this is gonna sound weird. I want the next album to be a concept album. And I was like, would you guys all be willing to hop on a Zoom call so I can kind of explain to you the idea? And it was so fun having that first call and me explaining the story to the guys, to start seeing their wheels spin in their head about how to expand the story and having different ideas. And then as I started like sending song ideas, seeing how that springboarded a lot of different creativity in them. And because they were starting to really buy into the story, and they were thinking about, how can I help tell the story? And really with that, it was everyone was thinking about the songs in that way, and the lyrics, and what their respective instrument was doing, and how it could help convey that feeling and that message. And that was, to me, was so fun to see. Like the first track is called Pain. And I remember Abishai working through the drums, and he had a completely different idea for a certain section on the drums than I would have ever thought about. And it's because he was like, I feel like we needed something to carry it, but for it to almost also feel like panicky. And I was like, yes, that's exactly what. And then he showed me the idea. I'm like, yes, like it was those sorts of things that and like Nick at the end of a song called Smoke, he said, I want to like scream and cough at the end as if I'm choking on smoke, to kind of, buy into the imagery. And I was like, go for it, dude. And I just like all of those like little like garnishes and spices, that were being added to the pot, just made the songs that much better.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different elements like of the album that I mean, God, like Parasite, just the idea and the concept of like wanting to change things about yourself. And I mean, I think it's something we can all relate to.
Mhm.
And I just the overall idea of like navigating the internal struggle that everyone faces and having kind of just manifest. I mean, I think people are going to connect with this in a big way.
Yeah, there's the common, metalcore joke is like every band has a song called Parasite, and hopefully people can see past, like, we weren't just trying to grab some low-hanging fruit. This actually fits into a story. um but the idea, there's a reason why a lot of people use that metaphor, because when you really think about what a parasite is, and that it exists in nature, and what it does, and how it feeds on a host, it is a crazy concept. And it only can survive because it's feeding on you. And that's a really, like, when you really start thinking about what that is, and the way that you can correlate that to so many things in life, it can become a very powerful tool to help give words to something that a lot of times is just feeling. And that's what we're trying to use with a lot of these songs and imagery in the songs.
Yeah, I mean, and you guys really invested a lot of time and effort on the music videos. I mean,
Mhm.
gosh, Death Clock comes out in a couple hours from now,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
How many minutes is that one? Like,
It's going to be shorter than Parasite, but it is
yeah,
also going to have a bit of a short film before it as well.
mhm.
Which again, that's new for us, but um, been so exciting to like be able to give that to fans, and to give them something more than just the song. And uh give them something to be excited about, or something to look forward to, and also a different way to get invested in the music, hopefully, that they're enjoying.
Mhm.
um and I mean, I gotta say, like, I can brag about this because I had nothing to do with it, but the actors and their acting capabilities are just so impressive. you know like, thank God it wasn't up to us to act and
Yeah.
depict those emotions and those feelings. Like, I got chills and goosebumps so many times watching them perform. And just, I always knew I could never act. Like, it's just not a skill that I have. But seeing that just showed me even more just the unique skill and ability. And we were just so fortunate to have people that were so talented to help convey this story and this message in such a compelling way.
Do you feel like people are going to stumble upon the band through these videos and kind of just discover who you guys are versus like, oh, it's like a new album on Spotify or,
Yeah, that was part of the goal, is just to do something
Yeah.
different. Because a lot of the time, for people that don't understand, a music video is a commercial for bands. That's all it
Mhm.
is. That's really why they were invented. Is It's a marketing tool. And really the goal for us as artists is, how can we take this thing that we know a record label is giving to us to help market the band? How can we make it more than just a commercial, more than just a marketing piece, and obviously labels understand that too.
Yeah.
But there's always that friction of, you know, like, what a music video is supposed to do and what it's not supposed to do. But the label, obviously, they bought into the idea and they were supportive, and it's not normal. Um, and part of that was, we're hoping that maybe that will also just separate us and help help build some intrigue into the band. If you've never heard of us, that there are people who are upset. They're like, I didn't want to have to sit through 8 minutes of a short film before a music video. Other people might go like, well, what is this band? They've got 8 minutes of narrative before the video. Like, they're trying to say something. What are they trying to say? And
Yeah.
that might intrigue some other people too. And that's really what we were hoping to do. Obviously, I was not surprised by the people who were just like, timestamp, music video, thank you.
I mean, that's such a weird complaint to have is like, oh my gosh, like, I guess maybe they're not seeing it from the way that maybe we are, where this wasn't shot for like $500 in a handshake. It took a lot of money and
Yeah,
time and effort.
yeah,
And I mean, I'd imagine the editing process probably took, quite some time.
yeah. I mean, this, this, yeah, this was. I mean, it was definitely expensive,
Yeah.
and um, and that's the thing that, yeah, I don't understand either. Is like, for me, growing up, anytime any band I was into was willing to give me more, I was grateful.
Yeah.
Even if it was something that I ended up not liking, I was still grateful to have more. If it was behind the scenes footage, or if it was a live performance, or if it was, tour footage, any of it, because you're into the music that they're making. And I think, yeah, I don't know. But I do think a lot of people are really appreciative. Um, and the thing that's exciting too is, Garrett Drake and Kevin Johnson are the guys that were heavily involved in the creation of, this narrative, or the short film. Essentially, they want it to be a short film. When I kind of told them my idea and told them the story, we've never had people buy into something we were doing so heavily. At least in such a, it's been a long time since we've had people basically just go like, I want to help bring this to bear, and I'm willing to, like, work really hard to do it. And
Yeah.
they did, and it shows, and Garrett's actually submitted it to a short film festival in Georgia, I believe.
Yeah. We make some award season money.
Yeah, I mean, for him, I just, yeah, I really hope that it just highlights, his giftedness and his creativity, and maybe it could be a way for us to make this short film not so short a film, and maybe make it a film. That would be
Yeah.
amazing. I'd be totally honored for that to happen, especially for Garrett and Kevin's sake. They're such talented guys, and there's a lot of selfless hard work that they put into these videos. And at the end of the day, their names are in the credits, but like what everybody remembers is the name of the band and the song title. So
Yeah, I mean, I
yeah.
saw the credits, I was like, "Oh my, that's a lot of people."
Yeah. Yeah. And everybody there, and that was the thing too that was so rewarding, was all the actors, like they were thanking us for being involved, and I'm just like, whoa, like no, let me, I want to thank you, like you
Mhm.
guys brought your incredible talent to us. We felt so humbled, that they were using it for, and for me, like it was like, it's a story I came up with. I just felt so humbled by that. And so it was such a great team, and it was fun. And it was a wild experience for me because I've never seen anything like that, um, in the way of like a production that was pretty big for us. So,
Yeah, I mean, and I get that though. I feel like even people are gonna be able to look back on this album, like, 20 years from now, just even having these videos as a kind of like a time capsule sort of thing.
mhm. Yeah, I think so too. And, we're really just we're trying our best to make something special for people and not just make another album. Which there's nothing wrong with, just putting a bunch of tracks together. But, the way that we feel is like we've been a band for a long time and we're up for the challenge and we want to challenge ourselves and push ourselves to give people really our best creatively.
Yeah.
Um, and hopefully it ends up being something special for people to enjoy for years to come. Because like for me, when I think about special albums that took a lot of thought and planning, I've mentioned Thrice before, but the Alchemy Index, that was such a wild idea for people. Um, and so challenging, but like, man, did they deliver, um and I think any band that's really tried to swing big like that, um and really poured their hearts into it, um it pays off and it lasts, um
Yeah. Do you remember Visu and, like, how the marketing was for that? Like, it felt very, like, something else.
yeah, it did. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember, yeah, there was a certain feeling to it.
Mhm.
And and that's really cool when bands can do that. A current band that does that now is Spirit Box.
Mhm.
They do such a great job with their visuals and how they're communicating, whatever a new iteration is of the band. And there are a lot of bands that do that well nowadays. And because and a lot of money gets invested in hiring really talented people, and a lot of that is, it's you're obviously you're trying to sell records, but it's also, you're trying to give people something that's quality, and you have to have respect for that, because in this day and age, like what the industry would prefer is to just just crank stuff out and get singles out,
Yep.
um and anybody who's trying to fight against that and, you know be intentional, I got respect for.
Well, speaking of Spirit Box, I mean, you had Josh Gilbert co-produce the record.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a big deal. What was
Yeah,
that like working with him?
e so easy. Um, yeah, it was such an easy working relationship and fun too. Um, yeah, just as a person, I just enjoy being around Josh and Joseph. Um, yeah, we just have fun together, and that's, like, obviously, like, super important for a working dynamic. And the thing that I really appreciated was, they really didn't, they wanted to work with us because they didn't wanna change us, but they wanted to help us be better, and that's all
Yeah.
I want. That's all
Yeah.
I want for myself, is I wanna write better songs, and I wanna learn from other people. And I've learned from those guys from the first session I spent with them. I went out there, I flew out to LA and probably did like 4 or 5 different sessions with them, um, and I just learned so much. And they're also so generous too, just with their experiences. And showing, like, they're doing something on the computer, like, well, how'd you do that? Or how'd you come up with that sound? And they just let me be a part of that. And also they were super encouraging to me. I always think that, especially songs that I'm working on, I just always have the temptation to think that it's just, you know, dumpster fire. And they were really encouraging to me, and I was grateful for that as well. So yeah, and I mean Josh and Joseph, they just pushed us to be a better version of ourselves, and you know, and we're so helpful in that way. I could probably talk a lot more about that, but that's probably the best
I
way to explain it.
I would love to hear more about it. Like, I mean, is there a certain like song that just like it was right there, but then like they kind of took it to that next level
Yeah, I mean,
where
Parasite was definitely one of those songs
okay.
where a lot of the core identity of the song was there. But the one thing about Josh that I really appreciate is it can be very easy for a producer to kind of like, if you feel like you're hitting a wall, just go like, well, it is what it is. It's very easy, I think, for people to do that. And Josh is kind of like me, where he's a bit of like no stone left unturned, not to like a crazy degree, but like when he knows it's not right, he's not just going to move on. He's willing to
Hmm.
be patient. Like something's missing, and what is it? And his patience, you know, and working with us in trying to figure out, like, we had the identity of the song, but it was missing like this 25-30%, you know, that he helped bring to bear. And even when we were almost thinking it was done, there was like one last like push that he brought in that really made the song what it was. And we haven't had that experience like much at all, honestly, with any outside
Hmm.
producer, because we've self-produced a lot. And so that was really special for me, just because a lot of experiences we've had in the past haven't. That's what I want. I want somebody to really push us and help us in that way, and also be like, be willing to just let us do something different than what you might think we would want to do too. And because sometimes you listen to a band and go, okay, this is what you are, this is what you do. We don't necessarily, we just want to write cool songs. So if it's cool, like,
Definitely.
let's do it. And we've been told before in the past, like, oh no, you guys, no, you can't do that. Like literally, that's been said to us, and I'm just kind of like, why? Like, why can't we do it? Like, you do that with a lot of other bands. Why can't we do it? So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, was there any like guitar related stuff that he brought to the table where, oh, I have this idea, but ooh, what about this?
yeah. Um, so with that song in particular, it wasn't for a lot of the songs, but that song in particular, I had the chorus written, and Josh was kind of like, he's like, man, I feel like there should be like a sort of post chorus, and this
Hmm.
was before I even flew out, and we were just like talking over Zoom, and I was like, do you have an idea of like what direction you're trying to go? And like I was trying to like work out some like chord progressions, and he goes, I think I have an idea. He's like, let me hang up, and I'm going to work on something, and I'll call you back. And he called me back, and he's playing to me, the section of the song. There was no vocals or anything, but the part where it goes, and I died a million deaths to live, that comes after like the first chorus section. He was playing the music, and I was like, wow, this is rad. This is a really cool rhythm, cool, like, riffy chord progression. And while I was hearing it on Zoom, he played it for me once, and a melody jumped in my head immediately. And I said, hey, can we hang up? Because I'm going to try and record a vocal idea real quick. And so I hung up, and I just, from memory, somehow I just tracked the vocal idea, and I sent it to him, and I was like, does this fit what you're doing? Is like, dude, this fits perfectly. Like, this is
Yeah,
amazing. So it was
man.
like that was like a really, I've never done that ever in my life, collaborated in that way. And so that's kind of what gave a bit of new life to that song, was that collaboration.
Yeah, I mean, is it kind of like difficult to think about like now with this album coming out? It's like, man, what are we gonna do for this next record then? Like we really like went all out for this. We're kind of in
Uh,
trouble.
well, to be honest, we've already thought about the next record, and have done a whole lot more than probably people are prepared for. But yeah, we've been working on a lot of songs, and so um, the idea behind Wasteland, um, I was really trying to think long term, and so um, yeah, it is still a little daunting to think about, but I'm really excited for what's to come. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, for somebody who, May 30th rolls around and the album drops, what do you hope they take away from the album after hearing it for the first time?
So the album, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different levels. Musically, I really hope that people enjoy sort of the sonic journey,
Mhm.
that you go on and can appreciate. The interludes they're very intentional
Yes.
and very much they really serve to help push the storyline along, and they're probably some of the most like emotive elements of the album. But thematically, what I want I want people to feel what the character feels, and you know everything that I write, I can't write it without looking at myself in the mirror. I just can't write something without seeing a certain truth in myself, if that makes sense. Like, I don't talk about like what I see in other people. It's like these are things that I see in myself, and the album is about really somebody who's trying to sort of live lawlessly and selfishly, and there's a way in which that we all do that. And the end, we all think that living selfishly is going to give us what we want most, but it actually robs us and steals from us, and it's kind of like a liar and a thief,
Mhm.
because it makes empty promises but never delivers, and so you're never satisfied and you're never whole. And that's what I'm hoping people will be realizing as they listen to the album, and to realize, that living for self, uh, and essentially devoid of God, is going to leave you feeling hollow. And that's sort of the place the character gets brought to. But we don't want people to be there without hope. The record is has sort of these whispers of hope that I hope people can hear, and kind of go, I want to hear more, you know.
Yeah. I had this really big itch to ask you, like, from your point of view, what are some of the greatest stories of all time? Whether that's like Lord of the Rings, is that the Chronicles of Narnia? Is it a
Yeah.
Marvel,
Yeah, I mean,
universe?
yeah, man, what a great question. Um, yeah, I mean, Lord of the Rings is a great story, and I think not only is it a great story, just because of like the characters and things that
Mhm.
happen and the dynamics, but the perspective that Tolkien has of like things regarding good and evil, and how he depicts it, and how thoughtful he was, and how he depicted these things. To me, whenever I see writing that is so like layered and nuanced, and you can just see the thought that was put in, like nothing was wasted, you know,
Yeah.
nothing was like a throwaway, everything had meaning and purpose. And that's such a beautiful thing. And that's what makes stories like that, like, why you're able to like consume it again and again, and it feel like fresh every time. And so yeah, definitely like Lord of the Rings is uh, a great um a great story. um another another story that I think about, that I have read a few times, is called Pilgrim's Progress by a man named John Bunyan. It's an old writing, and basically it's another like you know a lot of people think that Lord of the Rings is allegorical. It's not allegorical, but I think there's metaphors. Pilgrim's Progress is an allegorical story, really about what it actually means to be Christian and to live the Christian life, and it's just written in such a brilliant and powerful way. Um, Another great writer I mentioned before is C.S. Lewis, and um, you know, a lot of I could name a lot of his writings, but one of the ones that stands out to me is called Screw Tape Letters, which is basically about, you know, it's like the devil writing to like demons as to like how to like trip up and trick people. And in it, like he writes in such a clever way because he's wanting you to see what I guess like the schemes of evil are. And it helps you to see like the things that are evil to actually be evil and for them to be foolish, but to see how you like you buy into that, and it's a really helpful tool in that way. But yeah, man, there's so many other stories I could think of in movies. Man, talking about movies, I
Yeah.
got a whole other long list of movies I could think of too. But um, yeah, it is. You said Marvel, and it's such a crazy thing to think that like that is a totally legitimate like thing to mention in the realm of storytelling.
Yeah.
Like it is good storytelling. It's just hard for some people to admit because you've got Spider-Man and Iron Man as your characters, but
Yeah.
I think it's so awesome.
And you think about like other like just standalone films like The Green Mile.
Yeah.
That's a brilliant film that you only really want to see once, maybe
Yep.
twice.
Yeah, I know. It's hard for me with movies like that and like Shawshank Redemption, like when movies that have sort of like such a like a powerful twist, or ending, you can never have that feeling again, because it's coming. But yeah, movies like that are so cool. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, like Interstellar, you
Yeah.
know, um, Inception, movies like that. Those they actually have some really cool replay value because the endings aren't like clean endings,
Yeah.
like we're used to. Because it kind of I love the feeling of like I loved what I just saw, but I don't know what I just saw. Like Tenet, like I don't know if you watched that
Mhm.
movie.
Yeah.
That actually I had to watch it a few times to be like, wait, what? Like I love this, but like I constantly felt like I'm missing something. I'm missing something.
Yeah, I mean, that came out right in the middle of COVID, and
Mhm.
God, talk about a date night that just did not go well. Like meeting someone for the first time and then having to go in the theater with a mask, and that's okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. At least the movie. Oh yeah, okay.
And then you watch Tenet and you both walk out going like, I don't know what I just saw. I feel like I like it and you want to talk about it, but you're just like, you feel like you just have to watch it again. I wasn't prepared to talk about it after I saw it. I was like, I need to watch this again because I feel like I might have just had it wrong the whole time.
Yeah, there wasn't a second date after that for sure. I mean,
Did that actually happen to you?
yeah, yeah. We went out on a date for Tenet, and just it didn't go well after
So
that.
that wasn't just an anecdote. That was your
No,
life.
that was my life.
That's amazing.
But it's a good story though. I mean,
Yeah, it is.
but dude, I can't believe I have you till like 9:30 at night, dude. I respect that in a big way. I mean, you must be exhausted because I mean, you were up
No,
and at
man.
'em probably like I mean, when do you kind of start your day? I mean,
Thankfully it's not as rigid, as it used to be. But like it could be 7, it can be earlier. Like today I was up at 5:30. I just don't know why.
same, same.
I was up and I was like, I'm like, I feel like I have like a slight case of like narcolepsy. Like when I fall asleep, I fall asleep. And when I wake up, I'm up.
Yep.
It's over. There's no going
That
back to
was
sleep.
that was me. My wife, she works remote, and so
Yeah.
she was up at 5, and I'm like, here we are.
So am I.
With the summertime too, it's coming up at like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. It's like, well, all right.
Yeah, it's bright outside. Yep.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I appreciate the fact that you're kind of rocking out so late doing your
Yeah.
thing. I mean, you have so many different things that you could be doing right now. And yeah.
So could you. So
Yeah,
could you.
this is true. This is true.
So
But
I appreciate, yeah, you giving us a platform for people to find out about
sure.
us.
I mean, for speaking of ways to support the band, I mean, are we able to pre-order the album presumably through the Solid State store, but is there anywhere else that people can plug in and pre-order the album or?
Yeah, just through through the Solid State store. And we're gonna through our merch store, we're gonna have a merch drop soon as well.
Okay.
Yeah, just doing things a little bit different than the norm. You know, um, normally you drop all the merch, everything a while back, but we're trying to give people space to just consume the things we're trying to communicate, and then we can deal with like people are if they're gonna want t-shirts, they're gonna want them when we have them. So that's kind of how
Yeah.
we thought about it.
But I feel like it's also gonna give you guys the opportunity to, like, kinda be creative with, like, how you wanna drop T-shirts. You can do a
Mhm.
limited run, you can, like, a print by order.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, with it being such a creative album, it's like, yeah, maybe do, like, a landscape T-shirt of a particular scene or yeah.
Yeah, we definitely are just trying to just think about everything that we're doing and the messaging and um yeah, the world building and help people, yeah, give them an opportunity to buy into what we're doing, and for it to not feel so like commercial or marketed, but for it to feel um yeah, just more like a show you really want to watch.
Yeah. I am super curious to see what Chris Dudley will think about this, music video layout.
Oh yeah. Do you know him? Do you know him well
I just
or
I just know he's a very big film guy, like,
yeah.
that's kind of
Yeah,
his
you're
thing
right.
is films, and he does some brilliant work on other films and doing
Yeah, he
scoring, and
does.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah, he does.
man
Yeah,
of
what a
talent.
cool what a cool like pivot he was able to make, and to use yeah, his creativity in that way. Yeah, hopefully he digs it, and yeah, honestly for us we also hope that it's inspiring for our like friends of ours that are in bands and other artists as well, cuz we're inspired by, our peers and other artists to that effect, and it's like part of the reason why you also try to put out good material to
Yeah.
inspire one another.
Is Solid State open to, like, remixes or, like,
Mhm.
redos or yeah? Because 'cause I'm wondering, like, I was thinking, like, Cody Quistat from Wage War would be a fantastic guest vocalist on a song just to redo it.
Yeah, yeah, Cody would be he would be great. Yeah, he helped us on a few songs
Did
on our
he
last
really?
album. Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
we worked on a song called Shadows and Out of Sight with him. Did it over Zoom during COVID. Um, yeah, and he's such a talented guy and super kind, and he's great ideas as well. And he was super encouraging to us as well. Yeah,
So
but that would be
technically yeah,
yeah.
technically Wolves is in the, Codyverse then.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Just another band, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
isn't that funny how he's created such a world, like, of his own?
Yeah.
That's
It's a 2 degrees of separation,
yeah.
Kevin Bacon scenario with Cody.
I feel like we should really just run with that. I mean, I've been using the term Codyverse for a minute, and, yeah, because he's such a talented guy. I mean, he does everything.
Yeah, he's also very personable,
Mhm, yeah, he's
and
humble.
yeah, he has a I can see why so many people would want to work with him, I think just as a person. And that's so important. I'm sure he's able to help a lot of artists feel comfortable,
Mhm.
and then with that, he's got great ideas, great instincts, so that's a great combination.
Yeah, man. Is there anything else that you would want people to know about the album that we haven't touched on or
No, no, I mean, yeah, we covered like everything in regards to like what the album's about, and sonically and the music videos and the story. Um, so there's nothing else that I can think of at this
totally?
point.
I believe you guys have some fall plans kind of, like, on the horizon for touring, or
They're brewing.
the
They're
Bruin?
brewing.
Is it confirmed, like, locked in, or is it, like, maybe kinda
Uh, it's maybe locked in.
okay, maybe locked in.
Yeah.
Okay, so
We have a lot more moving parts, you know, but we're definitely trying to make something happen, that's for sure. We
yeah, 'cause I
hear
mean, I'd imagine, like, you're itching to play some of these songs live.
Yeah, yeah, we've already gotten to play Parasite, live, which is a lot of fun. You know, when we were filming Death Clock, you know, the music video, we just after each take, we're like, "This is gonna be fun to play
Yeah.
live."
The
Yeah.
countdown part is really, really, really fun.
Yeah, that it is fun. It was fun to do playful things like that for us, which was very new, you know, to do things that like to me that is like a little playful, you know. It's sort of leaning into, you know, the metaphor and not being afraid to like, yeah, put a countdown in a song called Death Clock. And I think some of those things help maybe the songs feel a bit more cinematic, which is what we want it to do. We want it to feel a little bit larger than life, larger than just you know, five dudes with instruments, you know, to make you feel like you're somewhere. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, which was a lot of fun to do that.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to you guys for having the idea. Shout out to Solid State for, helping
For
make
yeah,
it
for
happen.
backing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, because they could have just said no, but again, they're people that facilitate the idea. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
you know, it's funny. Brandon Nebel, the you know,
yeah.
he owns the label. He had posted something on his Instagram. Uh, it was I forget what it was. It was like some sort of like meme, and like it was like a list of things that like a starter kit for like a record label owner, and like one of the things at the end was like, you know, a band saying that their next album was going to be a concept album, and and I saw that and I was like, hey, so about that we actually want to make our next album a concept album. And they were cool. I explained the concept. They're like, yeah, that sounds cool. You guys should do that. And I was like, all right, cool.
I was just saying that, but I guess now that you're in for it, we have to do it now.
Yeah. He could have totally said
We were
no,
actually
but
thinking this, but
yeah. Yeah. So, but
yeah, and I think
the goal was for it to still just be an album, you know. We don't want people to be scared away by the idea of a concept album where it means like you're not going to like you can't just put on a track and enjoy it. You
yeah,
can.
I
That
mean,
was
there's a lot.
it
I
was
mean, again, like yeah, Death Clock. I mean, on its own, you know, great song.
yeah, and I think that I mean that we did that by design, you know, because
Yeah,
we get what year we're in. We get that everyone consumes it, you know, their music on Spotify and other DSPs, you know, and playlists and all that jazz. So we were trying to toe each line as best as we could without compromising what we're trying to create.
big brain works on different levels. It works as a whole album with the interludes and everything, and then
Yeah.
as singles. So well done, well
Yeah,
done.
thanks.
I mean, most people can't pull it off, but you guys did.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I
man.
appreciate that. Hopefully, yeah, a lot of other people will be able to enjoy it.
Cool, man. So album drops on May 30th through Solid State. I mean, album number 6.
That's right.
And,
LP6.
you guys get the summer to kind of let it simmer. And then who knows, maybe some touring plans in the fall. And then 2026, it's just kind of off to the races,
We're
hopefully.
gonna keep rolling. I just
Yeah,
tell everybody to
hopefully.
keep their eyes peeled. That's all I'd say.
Yeah, hopefully more moments for your kids to headbang to.
Yeah, I would love that, and so would they.
I'm curious, like, what does your wife think of this? Like, is she like
Yeah,
really in tune with the whole scene, or is she kind of like adjacent to it, or
yeah. She's kind of like yeah. I mean, so I was surprised when I first met her. You know, she actually liked a number of bands that I was into, and so you know, for me, when I met her, when honestly, when I meet a lot of people, my band is like not something I try to bring up, and especially at that time, you know, I wasn't married, and when I
yeah,
would meet people that I was interested in, like I just didn't talk about it because I didn't want if somebody's going to be interested in me, I didn't want that to be the appeal because it's not,
definitely,
yeah, it
definitely.
isn't who I am. And I remember when, you know, all of my friends always try to embarrass me. It's like, you know, he's in a band, you know, and all this stuff you can imagine friends do. And you know, and she liked a lot of the same music that I did. And when she heard our music, she loved it. And I was like, that just feels like a freebie, you know,
Yeah,
like, and we already at that point, like we already had, liked each other. So that wasn't in the way
Thankfully.
of us like actually getting to know each other. Um, yeah, and she's just been such a great support to me and encouragement too, especially when I've just felt like I'm not very good, or I just feel like writer's block, or and there's a lot of things that have been really discouraging for us, throughout our career, and she's been really good to just remind me, of why I'm doing this, and that's really really helpful for me to have somebody who um has she the purpose of our band she's totally bought into, and that's why she supports it, not because she likes the idea of having, a husband who is in a band. Like
Yeah.
that's not actually like a great thing for wives, is to deal with a husband like, touring and being
Oh
gone
yeah.
and all that stuff. So yeah.
Especially
And
since,
that's what
she can't
yeah.
just like fly out and
I know she used to come with us before we had kids. She would just come to she would come on tour with us as much as possible. And she was so good at touring, like it was impressive. And those were fun days. And she misses that and I miss that, but such is life.
it's a skill though. I mean,
Yeah.
as we all
Yeah.
know,
It
like
is a skill.
someone gets on the road, like, you know what? I actually don't like this.
I
I
remember
don't
somebody asking, like, somebody saying it as like, is he good at touring? And I remember before we started touring, I didn't know what that meant. And it's like, after I started touring, I realized like, oh, I know what that means.
can you go to a Sheets at 2 o'clock in the morning and not pick out the worst stuff imaginable?
Yeah. Can you shamelessly brush your teeth at a truck stop?
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
It's like, will you pay the extra $3 for another thing of baby wipes?
Yep. It's basically just like how much like humiliation are you willing to endure? That's like a lot of it, and
Can't believe
discomfort.
I can't believe Dude Wipes doesn't have like a kind of like a stranglehold on the scene.
I
Like,
know.
hey, you're in a band, like
They should be
you sh-
sponsoring.
right, right.
I feel like there should be some sort of non-prof, that's like getting dude wives to
It's
guys
like,
on tour.
I mean, at this point, I mean, I guess like what's the killer water, liquid death is it?
Liquid death, yeah.
I feel like that they're already too big because they got bought out by
Yep.
Coca Cola, like
Yeah.
so that's already kind of you know way out there.
Yep.
But so yeah, you have the white monsters, you got Dude Wipes, and you got because yeah, Monster definitely loves the bands.
They do. They do
They
love the
do.
bands.
But dude, hey dude, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. Dude. Encourage everyone to jump on wherever you like to listen to music and check out the singles, check out the videos. Like I said, Death Race or Death Clock comes out an hour from now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I mean, I saw a bit of a snippet, so yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah, it's really cool. We're really happy with how that one turned out, and in no time, yeah, the album will drop. So yeah, thanks for having me on, and this was a cool conversation. It's always fun to just see, you never know where podcast conversations will go, and this was
Mhm.
unique, and so I appreciate that.
Yeah, give me 1 second.